You talked about the mobile devices as a new workplace, and you talked about enterprise nomads. And could you describe these people?
I think much of our interest so far has been on making people at the office desk more productive. And people outside the office desk, they've had email connections, but really not much else. Actually, most people now don't work away from their desks. There are some numbers that suggest in the European Union that perhaps by 2013 there might be 130 million mobile workers. But the description is now nomads. The sense are that they are always, like the tribes in Arabia, they're always wandering around. And often that's not actually out on the road selling. Many companies have large campuses, and people spend their life going from building to building. They're walking down a corridor and someone stops them and says, "Oh, what happened to that project, Martin?" And you say, "Oh, when I get back to my desk, I'll give you a call." You never do. The opportunity is lost. It's like a corridor moment. So the term nomad has come up because it just creates the impression that these people are just never sitting in one place at one time at a big desktop terminal.
But and you want these people, or do you think these people should use their mobile devices for this kind of work? But why can't they just use their laptop?
The laptop is a lot to carry around. You're worried that you may have, in English, £2,000 worth of laptop, so there's the cost of it, there's the complexity of it, you've got to find a wireless network to link it into, all the passwords and everything. And what's more, you've got a lot of stuff that you don't need. If you're in a sales situation, you probably want to know a little bit about the customer, what they bought last year, what you can sell them next year, what the discount's going to be, and maybe a bit of news about maybe they've done an acquisition or something. You can say, "Oh, hello Charles, nice to see that acquisition in India went ahead." That's all you need. You don't need 100 gigabytes of information sitting on your laptop to do that.
You also talked about the mobile as an integrated platform. Could you explain?
Because with the mobile phone, you can go very quickly from "that's the staff directory" to "I can call that person." I'm sitting in the office, I want to go for a meal, I can very quickly get on and find a meal. Now you may say, "Well, I can do that with a laptop." But with a laptop, I have to tell the laptop where I am. Whereas my mobile phone knows I'm in the Radisson Hotel in Copenhagen, and if I want a good beef steak, I can go to the Hereford restaurant just down the corner. I haven't got to put in the Copenhagen area and do everything else. So it's very integrated because it's personalized to what I want, rather than me having to sit there and work through lots of searches and folders.
But you also talked about there still being quite a lot of usability issues with the mobile phone.
Oh, huge. I mean, by and large, we're operating our phone with a thumb. Everything else we do, we use lots of fingers. And therefore, you've got to think about, is the thumb the best way to do it? Because sometimes you use your phone just with one hand to hold it up to your ear, and other times you may be touching a keypad to use words. But above all, you talk to it. It's a telephone. And therefore, I can see a lot of applications where we actually do search using voice rather than having to sit there and type through. The other problems are small screen size, and we may be using it in a crowded train. So we're quite limited as to what we can do, and it's not connected to a printer. So there are lots of usability issues here, which I think people are realizing in a web environment, but haven't thought through the implications for accessing enterprise content.
But do you see a movement in these on these usability issues? Are the developers of mobile phones and mobile devices, are they addressing these issues?
The answer to that question is certainly yes. What we're seeing is the consumerization of IT. We're seeing, like Facebook, it was a consumer product, now people are using it inside the firewall. Mobile is just the same. So if you compare, say, the Amazon site on a laptop to the Amazon site when you access it over a mobile phone, there's less architecture, there are more in the way of guided links. It's doing things like anticipating what you might want to read. So that, you tend to look at books on web design. So when you then click onto Amazon, it will go straight to books on web design rather than saying, fill in what you're interested. So there's a lot of work being done in the public web arena, and the challenge for intranet managers is to say, what can I take from that and apply it for my enterprise access.
Let's talk a little about the search issue. As you say, it's kind of difficult to type in with your index finger or your thumb. What are the possibilities of developing this?
I think the search will be helped in a number of ways. First of all, it is location. You know that if you're in this particular location, you only want this information about this customer, restaurants in this city, weather in this locality, so that the search engine will have that information almost before it delivers anything else. It will do things, as I was saying earlier on, it will anticipate what you may want. You know, if you're in Scandinavia, only be looking for the Scandinavian business performance. You won't be interested in what's going on in Australia. But I think what it will also do is have tabs which contain the next set of search terms, because you can't use a mouse. You can't go to a filter list and click there. So I think it's going to have to be adapted to use fingers and voice rather than a mouse and big search boxes.
One of the issues for many IT experts or big companies, I think, would be security. Could you talk a little about security issues?
I think people are rightly concerned about the security of mobile phones. Many of them go missing. But an equally large number of laptops people just leave behind on trains and boats and planes and in other people's offices. Each laptop contains about 100 gigabytes of important business information. Your mobile phone may contain a staff directory and one or two other, but relatively little that's going to be of serious help to someone who's going to crack into a laptop. And already there are programs in place that you can just dial a particular number and your mobile phone will be wiped clean. I don't know where it is, but please wipe everything on it. So if anyone does try and use it, the minute they try and dial a number, it knows that this is a stolen laptop, just stops it dead. Which already the operators offer, but now there's a different emphasis in an enterprise arena. In the end, security is always a balance between the opportunities of the business and the risk. And at the present moment, I have a sense that IT managers are being a bit defensive, buying themselves some time to say, security. But they're not stopping people taking laptops with them. Indeed, they're encouraging them to get away from the desk and get out. So what's the problem with mobile phones? I think it's something that there's a fear of the unknown. I don't see it as a really significant barrier. It will be solved because I think the benefits are substantial to providing people with this type of access.
How about a thing like viruses? You use a lot of resources buying antivirus programs for the laptops and for the company, but telephones, they're not really protected this way. Is that a problem?
I think that telephones currently may have some virus issues. That's not an area I'm an expert in. But the companies that are driving this are major IT companies. They're the Ciscos, they're Unisys, they're IBM, they're Apple, they're Microsoft. They're not going to risk their reputations by delivering a solution that is inherently insecure, that inherently has a virus problem. And already there are developments in place to address this. We're still at the very early stages yet. And I'm sure that the virus issue, yes, Symantec are worried about it, but they'll also have some solutions to it. It's just one of those ongoing battles we have in the internet age.
So finally, this is a thing that is sure to be growing over the coming years. How should a specific company's IT department prepare themselves for this, trim the organization and the intranet?
I think the important thing is not to try to think that all your intranet will be on the mobile phone. It seems likely that the early adopters will be business intelligence, so that you can go and see performance of your company, what you've sold to a particular customer, what your sales team has done in the last month. And my advice is to go and talk to the people in your organisation who are running the business intelligence and say, how can we work together you've got the numbers, we have text maybe about product descriptions or team members or something like this, how can we put that together? And be very focused about what you deliver, than try to think we've got 4 million pages on our intranet, we're never going to cope with this. So just as Amazon have cut down their site to deliver to a mobile, intranet managers have to think lean, work with other departments to come up with a solution, talk to IT about it. This has to be business driven. But the challenge is it may also be CEO driven. he's not going to want, or she is not going to want, their company to be uncompetitive because the intranet may take 2 years to work out how it's going to be delivered onto a mobile handset. I think our job is to be proactive and ready for when it's right time for the business to invest in this technology.